Hello and welcome to Men of the Den. My name's Eric and it's Friday. This week on Men of the Den, we are talking about video games, and joining us for a discussion about video games, queer gamers, and the gaming industry is our friend Chris Diorio. Chris is a quality assurance tester at Raven Software. They are the makers of the fine Call of Duty system of games. And Chris has had the opportunity to work on at least 5 of the Call of Duty games, including the subtitles of Advanced Warfare, Call of Duty Online, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, and Modern Warfare Remastered. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So Chris, where did your passion for video gaming start?
It actually really started back in high school. We used to do a lot in high school. I got a bunch of friends who used to play a lot of video games. I wasn't really into it as much, but it gave me a way to hang out and meet new people in high school. We actually had a video game club in high school where after school we would grab a bunch of like the TVs, bring them all into a room, and we would set up like Halo around. And that's what really started getting me into games. My friends introduced me to different consoles. Back then it was mainly PS1 and Xbox at the time. That's when I came to know that apparently my dad used to be a big gamer, and he would bring out like the old Nintendo, Super Nintendos, and all those old systems, and even the Atari, which is fun. And that's what pretty much sparked that interest, and I got into it a little bit more and more. And that was pretty much it. It was just that constant influence from a bunch of friends to the point where I got more into like the story side of video games. So anything with a good story, anything with a good that went a lot more in depth, I got really into. And then in terms of just into making video games, it was like one of those, I want to figure out how this happens, and that's why I put my career path towards that, pretty much.
Fantastic. So, I mean, you actually went to college and studied this. You went into to Rensselaer Polytechnic and studied video games in college. Like, tell us about going to college for video games. What's that like?
It's really cool. So I'm gonna actually back it up a little bit to just looking for colleges. When I was looking for a college to attend, I really wanted to go into game design, and a lot of the colleges I looked at were either you were going the computer science route or you're going the art route. There was never both. There was never anything offshoot from that. If you weren't a programmer but you're not a great artist, which is design, there was really not many programs like that. When I discovered RPI, they were just beginning a new program simply called the Games and Simulation Arts and Sciences. They used to have a game design minor, and they actually grew it into being a full-blown major. What was really cool about it is that they took a full-on interdisciplinary approach where regardless of which offshoot you went, everybody still had the same classes together, had the same core classes together. So you were always working together, and you still learned a little bit about each. Like, even if you were a programmer, you still had to take a storytelling class, or if you were mainly an artist, you still had to take the computer science classes, things like that, which was really nice. I went into it as an artist. I went down the art route. And I unfortunately found out very early that I'm not the best artist. But what was really cool about the program is that it gave me that leeway to switch, and I actually went more into interface design and UI design with that. It was really cool to go through it. Like, your first year was a lot of history. A lot of classes went into the history of games, and not just video games, but just games in general. We got to see the history of like rule sets of games and how things have evolved over time, and all those kind of theories of it. And then you moved on into actually creating your own games. We actually started out making simple board games, simple tabletop games. And then once we had the knowledge, the technical knowledge in our other classes to do digital, we would actually go and make a game. In one semester, we had a program where I had to create, me and my group had to create 4 games in a semester, which was about 2 or 3 weeks to make a game. Sure, they weren't as in depth, but that's what gave us a really good handle on the tools that we were going to be using. And then each semester we had the opportunity, pretty much each semester we made another bigger project, which was great. We always had our hands in something. And at the end of our year, our senior year, we actually all got invited to a whole symposium where we got to show off our final projects. They had developers come in. There was a whole judging process. You got to see, and other colleges came in too and showed off their projects. It was really cool to get the kind of exposure. It was a lot of work, and honestly, being in the industry now, it definitely prepares you in terms of the time you're going to take on a project. But I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting to check out.
So going from college, you went to a company called Vicarious Visions and started working on a program there called Skylander Swap Force. Tell us a little bit about that, and then transitioning into Raven.
Sure. So I got brought on to Skylanders during their last year of development. It was actually the first part of the Skylander series that Vicarious Visions had their basically were the leads on the project. They've been assisting with developing with the Skylanders project for a while. This was their first one where they had full creative control, which is really cool. I got hired there in October, November. I don't really remember off the top of my head. But after a little bit after school, what was really cool about Vicarious Visions is that they actually started at RPI. So there's a lot of people who know the RPI community from Vicarious Visions and stuff. We used to go there all the time. So that's how I was able to seek them out and then got brought in. Skylanders is a very different game. It is made more towards children and more towards the younger generations. Though I do know plenty of folks in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s who are obsessed with collecting those toys. I know a good friend of mine back in Albany who would beg me to see if I can get him some of the rarer ones. I actually have a box of some of the Skylanders special editions we get as employees, which is pretty cool. But the game that game is also involved. It's very much, think Diablo for kids. That was the best way to basically describe it. Recently, it's more turned into more of a platformer and stuff. That was my first taste of testing a video game. And it was interesting because it was such a long process. We really didn't start crunching till like maybe February, March. And so I had a good 4 months on the project to learn the project, see some of just the concepts that they were going with that just got thrown out the door. Full levels left on the cutting room floor or whatever. So it's really interesting to see like the development process of something just being a white box and just ramps everywhere into the worlds that they make. So that was really interesting. It was not the biggest challenge with that game was because we had so many characters we had to test and make sure that they're all loaded in. You look at a game like some of the simple RPGs, you only have to worry about 6, 7, 8 characters that the players control. Skylanders had 60?
Whoa.
With, I believe, about 30 of them being able to swap parts. So it was about over 100 different combinations of characters you can use that we had to test. So we had to test like performance with certain combinations, or even just balancing with certain combinations, to make sure the level of difficulty required is still there. So, but it was definitely an interesting project to start on. As the project wound down, obviously, unfortunately, certain certain studios do go into flux. They don't really need QA at all times. So as the project demands get softer, unfortunately, folks get laid off, and unfortunately, I had to leave. But that gave me a really great opportunity with Raven. I applied over to Raven, and apparently got a huge glowing review from the folks at VV. And so I packed my bag and dragged my butt out here to the tundra of Wisconsin. Oh God. And
So if I could stop you just real quickly, I want to take just one step back before we go into Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned something, and I totally skipped over this thought, was that, I mean, your job in these companies is as a tester. You are a game tester, and you do quality assurance to make sure that these video games are up to standards, right? And so that everyone has a really great experience when they play it. So tell us a little bit about what game testing actually is and what it is that you do as a game tester.
Certainly. So the very first thing, like basic daily process, you come in and the very first thing you do is when you sit down with your team is you're usually going through the major parts of the game. You're basically checking each level in the game, making sure all the major points of the game work that day. That's basically us making sure that the build we're going to be working on for today is a workable build. If it's a build if that day's build, because they actually pretty much overnight, they'll take all the code and they'll compile it and send it out to us, which is, yeah. So if that day the build works, and everything, the major functionality is working, okay, this is a testable build. We let everybody know that, and this is the build that we're going to be working on that day. If it doesn't work, if there's some major problem or major crashes in it that hurt us from building, we'll actually let the developers know, hey, here's some major crashes in this. We can't test this build. We'll be working on like yesterday's build for the time being, unless you decide to make a new one and send it to us. So after that, we basically look at any sort of content that are coming up, like anything new that's come in that has recently opened up for issues. We'll usually do a big sweep, whether it's a full sweep of a map, maybe it's checking out specific characters or specific weapons, depending on the demands. Sometimes developers will come up to us and be like, hey, so I just put in this new system. Could you take a look at it for me and make sure that there's nothing major with it before I submit it into our main build? And so we'll go ahead and do that. Whether they have to give us a special build that's like a local build, or they're like, hey, it's in the game right now. Can you just test it and make sure that before production sees it, can you make sure it works? They'll also send us stuff for basic playtesting, get our feedback. They may say, hey, we've added this new mode to the game. Can you try it out and let us know what you think about it? Or they may have us, hey, I'll use Call of Duty as an example. For Advanced Warfare, we have a survival mode where you just basically have to survive waves and waves and waves of enemies. They want to see, okay, how is the difficulty ramping up? Are you getting the rewards you're supposed to when we want you to receive them? And we would play a few playthroughs of the mode up to a certain wave number, and we would tell them, okay, at this point, here are our scores, here are the rewards we got. Do as you wish. And they could be like, oh, you're getting too much score, too high. Let's reduce that. Or, oh, you're not getting to the level you want. Maybe we have to boost this a little bit. So they will do things like that. It's very, besides everything we do in the morning, every day is different of what we handle for the day. One day we may be looking at a mode all day, nonstop. Another day, we may be hopping around to this, and the other thing throughout the day. It all depends on where we are in the cycle. As we get closer to release date is when things get tougher. That's when we do like in the entire sweep of the game. That is the stuff that people know QA for, and that is the testing every single point in the game as hard as possible until we pretty much die, or go insane sometimes. But I mean, it's a lot of tedious work. I'll be honest with you. Like, for instance, if we're looking at a level, we're not playing. That is one of the biggest things when I talk to people about QA, is that when I first mention I do QA, the immediate reaction is, oh, so you play video games for a living? It's not really playing games. Like, I don't get to sit there. I don't get to relax. I don't get to enjoy the game. Instead of running through the level and completing the level, I'm running into a level and then running into a wall 50 times in different points to see if it breaks. I'm making sure that this door actually opens the correct way. I'm making sure that the correct sounds as you're walking across specific surfaces are happening. We're not really playing the games, and that is one of the biggest points I try to get out to people, is that it's not all fun. It's not all fun. It is fun. We're a fun group of people, I'll say that. But it's not all fun. So
if I could comment just real quickly, it sounds kind of like what you're describing is making sure that the environment fits well enough to provide the necessary suspension of disbelief so that
yes.
you are immersed in the game experience successfully.
Exactly. And then also all depends on the type of game it is. Like for a game like Call of Duty, you want to make sure that things are happening realistically. So we're looking at a little bit more scrutiny, with a little bit more, like, we look at it like, this cannot happen in real life. You need to fix this. Like, there's no way he can be hiding behind this pole and not be shot. He's completely exposed. Why is this happening? But with a game like Skylanders, it's more of a cartoonish game. You can take that kind of leeway out. So it really all depends on the game that you're making. But yes, we're making sure that your experience is what we want it to be. So.
Excellent. So let's talk about Call of Duty. You've worked on Call of Duty for almost 3 years now. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about, for those of us who don't play, tell us what Call of Duty is, because it looks like it's really different, every single one of them. What is Call of Duty, and what could a player expect?
Sure. So Call of Duty started, I want to say, I don't even know at this point how long ago, but it started as a World War II military shooter. It started as a game that you were able to relive some of those famous battles, relive that kind of world, which is great. So to say, you run out of material, it's grown up to be more modern, especially with the Modern Warfare series, which was highly critical acclaimed. From there, where do we go? Well, we have to start touching in the future, and that's why it expanded to more advanced technologies, to cybernetics, to now with Infinite Warfare, space combat, colonizing Mars, colonizing other planets. But in the basis of what makes a Call of Duty game, at least to me, is the fact that it will always be a military combat game. No matter if it's through the streets, no matter if it's Battle the Bulge, or if you're flying spaceships and fighting on Mars, it's still military. And a lot of the series, even when they go beyond the normal, like when they go into that more future stuff, it's still highly researched. Believe it or not, like with Advanced Warfare, that's when really they started going that whole sci-fi route. of things when it comes to technology, but a lot of the technology that they included in a game is stuff that the military is actually researching right now, if it's at all possible. Sure, we take some leeway with this, but it's definitely that idea of, okay, what if this works? Let's go that route. But in the basis, Call of Duty is a military-based shooter. The has a single-player campaign that tells a story of basically a situation that at that time the military is involved in, which is actually interesting with advanced warfare because it actually talks more about private military and private organization of military. It also includes a multiplayer mode where you can go online and play against friends or complete strangers and just have a blast with a whole bunch of weapons on very unique maps that take place in the world, with a whole different series of modes. The other cool part is what we consider our third pillar of the games is our zombies modes. We'll have like a zombie survival mode, which will have a completely different story, maybe sometimes even related to the main story, but most of the time it's usually completely unrelated, which is just a load of fun. The current one for Infinite Warfare, I've actually really, really loved. It's 90s themed, and it's called Zombies in Spaceland. It's like a gigantic theme park, and it's like David Hasselhoff is in it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
It's fantastic. He plays a DJ that's just hanging around the park. It is fantastic. But it's things like that. It's Call of Duty has grown so much since its inception, and it's crazy with how to see the evolution of from where it's been from just your basic World War II shooter to where it is now. I agree with a lot of the criticism where Modern Warfare was probably one of the best in the series, because that is the first time where they really got to tell their own story, and they had that chance to tell their own story, and they really and Infinity Ward really took the reins with that, and they did a great job. So, but it's a fantastic series. I wasn't really into first-person shooters until I worked at Raven, and now look at me.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you just said recently in this conversation that you felt like Modern Warfare was like one of the best parts of the series. But for you, like, what was it specifically about that really kind of like opened it up for you that you really dug into?
Well, like I said, I really wasn't a big fan of just first-person shooter games in general. I'm awful. I'm still awful at them. I will freely admit it. I am awful. But it was something about Modern Warfare. But like I said, I get into story development and storyline development. And the best part about Modern Warfare was the fact that this is a story we haven't heard before. We know the stories of World War II. We know the story of those battles. We know all that. This is now a brand new story, and it was really cool to witness that as well, including all of that Modern Warfare series. So that's what really attracted me to the series, and really starting to really get more into it. In terms of just first-person shooters in general, I may be horrible at them, but I'm learning, and I'm learning to. I guess it's almost like I got forced into enjoying them from working, but at the same time, it's not, because I've actually been genuinely enjoying it. Maybe I just didn't have the right people I was playing with. Maybe I didn't have the right game to start with. My first Call of Duty game was actually Advanced Warfare when I started on that, and Call of Duty Online. Both of those ended up causing me, okay, I gotta go back and check out these other games and see what differences are, and that's what got me into Modern Warfare and all those.
Cool. So this is a gay podcast, gay show. You yourself are also gay. Tell us about gay gamers is like a big kind of growing community right now. So like, are you involved in any kind of like gay gaming groups, or online groups or go to cons or anything?
I haven't been to any cons yet, although I want to go to GamerX one of these years out in California. I've heard so much about it. I've had friends who've gone to it. I want to go to that one so badly. Besides GamerX, I'm involved with a couple different just a couple different gaming Facebook groups, which is a simple way, believe it or not, to find other people of interest. I have some really good friends, especially with one of my more obsessive video games I'm involved with, Destiny. I just found a group of people from one of the Facebook groups, and now we're really good friends, and we're online pretty much almost every night playing. So don't be afraid to go out there and check those groups out. The other big thing I could suggest is you'll find out that there's a lot more people who are into games than you think. And even just bringing it up in conversation with friends, with just friends that you may find out, oh, hey, he's actually into games too. You can just get together a board game night. It's really cool. And that's a really great people to get people into gaming. Like, I actually have a couple friends at work who have never played Dungeons and Dragons before. But we would have a board game night every so often. I was like, hey, would you guys be interested enough if I ran a campaign for you guys to check it out? And they're absolutely loving it. So, and that's one of the biggest things. And it works with even with gay gamers as well to bring them in. Sure, there's a lot of complicated games. And just to say, the internet communities can be a little bit less than kind sometimes.
I think that's a charitable read.
Yeah, but that being said, but like, even if you're online, there is something called a mute button. You don't have to listen to it. I actually had a really good talk with a friend of mine about that. I was like, dude, just like, he didn't want to play Call of Duty because of how crazy people can be online with that. And I told him, dude, here, press this button, press this button. Everyone is now muted. You don't have to worry about that anymore. And now he's enjoying the game a lot more. So that's one of the things. And I think that's one of the fears a lot of gay guys have, or the LGBT community in general has, with going online on games, is because of that toxicity that's out there and that fear. And that's one of the biggest ways to combat it. Don't feed the trolls. Biggest rules, don't feed the trolls. And the biggest way to do that is to ignore them. I've learned that if you ignore the trolls, they'll go away. And if you just do that, you'll actually enjoy playing a lot of these games a lot more, in my opinion. But yeah, check out, if you're looking for a con, check out GamerX, or actually check out really any con. There's a lot of the cons these days will have an LGBT group there. They'll have an LGBT table. They'll have a meet and greet session, which is really cool, especially if you go to one of your local cons. What's actually really cool is the local con here had their after party at the gay club here in Madison, which was awesome. They're really good friends. I got to meet Joey Fatone. Yes! Yes! So much hotter in person, by the way. And Trangelo was there the same night.
Wow.
Out of drag.
So,
but
yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. But but that was one of the biggest things, is that they're out there. You just have to really go out and search it.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. So you mentioned that you and your buddies play Destiny online together. Is that your big thing that you play at home when you're not banging your head against walls all day at work?
Yeah, that's one of the games that I play. That is pretty much the main game I play right now. I will be starting up on Final Fantasy though. Final Fantasy
15?
and yes. I am a big fan of the Japanese RPG genre. So Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. I mean, I have Kingdom Hearts tattooed on me. that is the game that I always go back to. I may have the remasters on pre-order already. The Shin Megami Tensei Persona series. Those are gonna be my big things at the beginning of the year. When those come out, Final Fantasy as soon as I get it. What else am I playing? I just started Dragon Age. I know I'm behind on a lot of games. That's one of the biggest things. I am behind on a lot of the main storyline-based games because of how busy we've been with work and other things going on in my life. Excuse me. So I have a large backlog of games. I still got to play Fallout 4. I still got to play Rise of the Tomb Raider. I still got so many games in my backlog. But the games that will always jump to that head of the line are those JRPG games that I have grown to love.
Sweet.
And Destiny.
Of course. So before we started this call, you said that you had a little independent project that you're working on. You want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So just to help develop some of my own skills and start getting myself, I've actually been working on an RPG project myself, just to create something on my own design, doing it partially for portfolio work, but also maybe just to get it out there and get my ideas out there and let people see what it's all about. So I'm actually working on an RPG in Unity 3D. I'm coding it myself. I'm going through some tutorials to get like a base game and then gonna offshoot from there. And one of the big things I'm trying to do with it is get people who would be willing to play test it and check it out for themselves. As I create prototypes, as I get out ideas and stuff and get that constant feedback. Unfortunately, I am only one person. I only have a certain amount of skills, and I may think something is completely awesome, and it may actually not be, because you know how that goes. But yeah, so I'm currently working on an RPG project right now. I have a few of the systems down. I got a character creation system fleshed out. Very, very base character creation system, and I'm actually working on the combat right now. So it's been a lot of fun, and if people want to actually check out my progress, they can come find me on Facebook under False Persona. That's the pseudonym. I'll actually send it to you right now.
Yeah, send me the link, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link down in the description to this video so that people can go and find it after the show.
Yep, and there is a link to go on and check out and sign up to actually give feedback and basically check out the game for me and let me know what you guys think. And as well as ideas that come up, I may send out emails like, hey, give me some feedback on this idea, or I may actually send a build like, hey, here's how the system. Let me know how you think, how it works for you. So I'm always looking for people who are looking to help out with that, especially if you're into RPG games. This is the first major project I've ever worked on, so it'd be awesome.
That's super cool. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for your time. I wish I could talk to you for like hours and hours, because this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I love talking about my job. I love talking about the industry and stuff, and I'm always open to talking to anyone about this kind of stuff. So it's really cool. And thank you so much for having me too.
Well, you're very, very welcome. Thank you for being a part of the show, and I hope to hear again from you soon.
Sure.
For those of you who are watching, thank you. You've been watching Men of the Den. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. And I'll see you all next Friday. Cheers.
Later.